Good evening, everyone. This is Wilbert Cook, Hand Up Recovery Homes. I'm back tonight to talk about a somewhat solemn and somewhat heavy issue. The issue of death, the issue of grief, the issue of transitions, changes, adjustments we all have to make when these things befall us and our families. And even when other people you don't know. So much death, whether it's from wars, whether it's from the street wars, whether it's from family wars, whether it's from domestic wars within families, are causing unwarranted death throughout the communities of Chicago, the United States, and the world. But tonight I want to touch on something we oftentimes do not talk much about because we've been on the themes of the deaths through drug addiction, the deaths through the violence out there, whether it be primarily gun violence, but there's violence based on domestic quite a bit that's been a tad underreported. But the reality is these things happen. But also there are a lot of natural deaths that befall us. And we haven't talked about the health in general, physical health. We've mentioned at it, we've hinted at it at various stages. We've touched on it a little bit. But today, we want to talk about one, it is unfortunate, but in the African American communities and many communities of all ethnicities and cultures, young people unexpectedly die from medical illnesses. Two of the most prominent silent killers are heart attacks and strokes. But they are usually preventable if we look for some of the warning signs or just go see doctors regularly. So tonight I want to talk about this because one of our most prominent guests, as I'm reading the paper Monday at work, an article pops up in the Tribune, and Judge Murray lost his 50-year-old son to what appears to be a heart attack this past Saturday. And unfortunately, he had scheduled to be on tonight, and we rescheduling. We'll check in 2 to 3 weeks, see how he's going, how much him and the family have adjusted to this tragic situation. The worst part is this was one of the smartest, brightest, loving, caring, giving young men in our community. Now, some of us in the struggling areas of Chicago may not know him as well. But if we needed his help, everything I've read suggested he would have been there. Matter of fact, we actually were working on me connecting with him because he's a financial advisor and consultant for one of the best African-American owned, operated mutual funds in America, in the world, really, Ariel Mutual, which is most famously known John Rogers, who's been on various boards, committees, all the way up to the financial committees I think he chaired for President Obama, and Melanie Hobson, who married George Lucas from the Star Wars duo of Spielberg and Lucas. And Lucas did most of the technology while Spielberg did most of the script work and some technology, and camera stuff. But a lot of the technology was in George Lucas, who wanted to build something on our lakeshore. Now, the reality is he was going to help me learn how to manage my money better, one, for retirement, but two, to have more to give back to the community. And eventually help us as a nonprofit learn to secure and manage more funds so we could help the community. Because Judge Murray had come to like what we were doing in the community. And he had been seeing me for years, but he had taken a special interest in helping this show grow and helping us get more information to the community. So he was in the process of us getting to meet Malik and get advice that we could carry back to the community on financial matters and help everyone live a better and more prosperous financial life, no matter what that means, but manage their money better and more effectively for them and their children's future. So we lost along with Judge Murray. We lost the chance to build a relationship with a great young man. Judge Murray lost a son who he had groomed to be a great asset to the community and to the world. And he was living that out. And 50 years is relatively young for a man who's living a good, wholesome life, professional life, to transition. So we all need to learn to take care of ourselves better as we help others. Take care of ourselves better as we work in these various jobs, whether it be social service like me and others, government services, whether it be as elected officials, priests, pastors, as financial advisors, as doctors, lawyers, nurses. We have to also make sure we're taking care of ourselves. But the reality is, no matter how well we take care of ourselves, we don't know the day that we could fall ill and just transition. So even people who are in the prime of their life, in great condition physically, no apparent ailments, they also can have heart attacks. Usually you find out it's some slight underlying ailment if they die from it, but there is kind of some things that's unpredictable. I remember talking to Dr. Terry Mason after Congressman Davis' son died, untimely death at a young age, around a similar age, probably I think his mid-late 40s. And Stacy died, and it was from unregulated blood pressure, uncontrollable blood pressure. And the doctors hadn't figured out what was going wrong, because Tracy, for all apparent reasons, about 145, 55 pounds, 5'7", 5'8", maybe a little taller, was in the picture of health to most of us that knew him. Great person, great attitude. But unfortunately, there are medical situations that happen too. Dr. Mason talked to me about the fact that it could have been one of these rare conditions affecting your blood pressure when you get a small tumor on your kidney. And if it's not diagnosed, treated, it causes an imbalance in the blood pressure that cannot be controlled unless that ailment to your kidney area is treated. It's very uncommon, but it happens. And today we know it happens more than it used to. That's why Dr. Mason mentioned it to me, because all of us knowing Stacy and his desire to work, take care of his family, and a few other situations he was going through personally and his family, we thought maybe he could have did something different to take care of himself during that last few days or hours. And Dr. Mason he looked at me and Cook, if he had one of them rare issues with his blood pressure and had one of them little small tumors that most people don't know even exist, until the doctors were able to treat that, his blood pressure was going to keep bouncing around, and he was going to keep being a candidate for a heart attack or a stroke, and possibly, if not, getting immediate emergency attention. And unfortunately, he didn't, because at that time, I think he was living alone, or it was during a time frame where no one was home for a significant amount of time before they could check on him. But so that's the other thing we have to look at. 1, 2, checking in with people regularly. So if something is not right, they know it might be something off, and they check with us and do well-being checks. We have to take care of ourselves better, people. But we also know that life happens, unpredictable situations happen that cause death. But there are several things we can do health-wise to manage our health. I suggest a lot of times they tell us when you're in good health, you can wait till 40, 50 to start checking on issues. At the rate in which we have so many additives, sugar, corn, everything added to a lot of processed food we eat when we're going out, I believe most of us should be no later, I don't care how healthy you are, checking on your health condition, your blood pressure, your A1C, blood pressure, blood sugar, and other blood circulation, eyes, ears, take care of your teeth better. All these things can adversely affect you and you don't know. And some of them can adversely affect you unto death, unexpectedly or otherwise. But then we also have this prevalence of violence that goes on. And I'm an advocate and firm believer that if we don't treat grief better, the frustrations, disappointments, the depression, the anxieties, all the things that could possibly spiral out of control when people are struggling with untreated grief, unresolved grief, not processing their grief. There are some mental, emotional things that can destroy a family further. So I'm a great advocate that we have to deal with grief better. Unfortunately, at short notice, I couldn't get our grief specialist here tonight. I will be reaching out to others as well as Pastor Dr. Oscar Career and see if we can get him back on to talk about grief in the near future. We're not only losing our young people of all ages to the gun violence that's prevalent in a lot of poor communities and throughout America and all communities, because we have a lot of issues controlling our emotions and not having a better balance as human beings, and even the stresses of life, that we're more prone to shoot each other in America. We carry more guns and we shoot them more often. And our poor people tend to shoot and kill each other more. And those, if we add on, that are in the street pharmaceutical business versus the legal pharmaceutical business. One is police heavily, the street pharmaceuticals. Legal pharmaceuticals are not policed as heavy. So some of the murders and all of that reported is because the policing is not the same and the reporting not the same. Doctors, business people, and others are addicted and using pharmaceuticals. Housewives, major presidents of organizations. It's not going to get reported in the news when they die from those that often. Unless it's a Hollywood figure, halftime, we don't know. It was drug overdose. If there's some additional murders, crimes, all that around, some of that, we don't know usually. Unless it makes 60 Minutes special, 2-3 years later. Or, somehow it hits the news because it's something really outrageous surrounding the death. But in the communities we live in is struggling. You hear about the deaths, murders, potential conspiracies of the police, of the community members, of the gang members, of people with domestic situations on a regular. But unfortunately, also lost in that is the average person loses family members through regular forms of death based on health issues. Some not taking care of themselves well. Some is untreated diabetes, untreated heart conditions, untreated pulmonary conditions. Then there's also not managing those conditions even as you start to get treatment. A lot of diabetics lose limbs and lose their life because they just do not want to adjust their eating to better balance their blood sugar and to get their A1C down to acceptable level. Some people really just do not want to balance their eating habits. I was one of them. I was over 100 pounds heavier just for the pandemic when I first lost 90-some pounds. Then I gained 45, 50 back, depending on where I was during the pandemic few years, which is great, actually, because most people with weight problems gain all of it back, plus another 20, 30, 50 pounds, and sometimes more. And so I was fortunate I didn't swing all the way back, and finally now I've lost about 60-some pounds in the last 6 months. through various forms of medication and learning to manage my eating and my appetite, even sweets. I had two handfuls of sweets I picked up Saturday at the little community events, and I was happy to say I could manage that. I don't have but 2 or 3 bites a day, so I still had most of that candy still left, because the bite size satisfied me as much as a whole candy bar. The bad part, if I had 1 candy bar, I would eat that. The good part, since they bites, I'm only getting a couple bites, which is less than oftentimes a half a whole candy bar, whether it's a Twix, Kit Kat, or whatever. But I've learned to manage that. But for years, I'm dealing with problems with diabetes and blood pressure that was uncontrolled, and some breathing issues because I didn't deal with it at a young age. So I say, everyone, by the time you hit 30, if you have not taken your health serious, I hope you start taking it serious as teenagers. And I know a few. Miss Jada, one of my guests, and a few people that I do community activism, Tross and Morgan. She's graduate of Florida A&M. She really takes her health serious. My niece has taken her health very serious, who was a RN down in Peoria and may be back in Chicago in 6 months to a year, working here at a major hospital now that she has her master's in nursing and her RN certifications for the state of Illinois. She takes hers pretty serious, and she struggles with some medical issues, so she really has to watch her eating most of the time, and she does that. But she was doing that anyway. She was learning from my mistakes, her mother's mistakes, her aunt's mistakes, other family members' mistakes. But speaking of kidney diseases that throw your blood pressure out of whack, I have an aunt who's been mostly lived the picture-perfect life for a young lady who went to Alcorn State, got a master's degree, worked with special ed in the city of Chicago, worked up to the highest ranks. But kidney disease has caused her to have blood pressure problems. When she's tried to take care of herself all of our life, when many of the other sisters and brothers struggled at various stages with their health and how they manage their health. So it does happen to people that do the best to help them. But likewise, she's hitting almost 75 years old and pretty good shape overall and playing golf all over the country now. And it's because she has taken her health serious all that time. And she was able, because she was managing her health, to find out about the kidney disease. And I'm thinking she's had it 5-7 years, and it's really been with her about 15 years. So these things happen to people, even when they're taking care of themselves. But the potential for unexpected death can happen when we don't. The other thing is trying to live life to the fullest, trying to be of maximum service to your family, your community, and to your Creator. But also take time out to enjoy the finer things of life. Whether it's Millennium Park, whether it's the Cultural Center in Chicago, whether it's a symphony, whether it's a comedy show, whether it's a basketball game, whether it's a summer festival, whether it's the Ohio Festival, whether it's Essence Festival, whether it's the Latin Festival downtown, the Jazz Fest. Get out to these things, enjoy life. And it also helps reduce the stress. It helps reduce the stress. And when you can't get out, use Google. Use YouTube. You don't have to look at all the raunchy movies and crazy violence action films that get your blood pressure up. You can listen to a lot of different jazz. You can listen to a lot of good rhythm and blues, soul music, blues, gospel, rock, hard rock, acid rock, soft rock, and a whole bunch of in-between rock. You can listen to a lot of Caribbean sounds, and you can listen to a lot of Jamaican sounds, and you can listen to a lot of more English-oriented sounds, or the Asian sounds, or the Chinese, Japanese sounds in music. Or you can go to our old school and new school classical. You can go to Bach, Beethoven, and you also can go to some of these newer artists. There's a lot of great opportunities to take care of ourselves better. You know, and even though I thought I'd be leaning more on the death part, but I think I'm glad this actually discussion turned more to how we live better with whatever we're doing and how we live better so we can avoid any potential trappings of health problems when possible and actually work with the treatments. There's a great program, the Couch Doctors, with Congressman Davis every Monday night. You can find them on Facebook. Just Google Congressman Davis, Couch Doctors, Nikki Harvey, the facilitator and creator with those doctors. They have Dr. Terry Mason, who's been the head of Cook County Medical. He's been the lead physician for Cook County, lead physician for the city of Chicago. He's been a specialist for men's health, prostate cancer, and other things for 30-some years. He's been in the medical field and prominent for 50 years in the Chicago area and known internationally. So you have Dr. Pete, who's from the Northside Health Clinic, that is a prominent African-American doctor. You have Dr. Hampton, who's one of the lead doctors with Advocate Hospital now, and I think he manages one of their South suburban areas. And his sons, and I think he has a couple kids, but at least I know his son went to school with my niece I mentioned at St. Mel, right here on the west side. 5 presidents have visited that school, that private school. Dr. Adams has done a great job. But sometimes kids don't make it there because of the strict discipline Dr. Adams have, and so much other school systems are limited in that. And we have to help kids not fall through the cracks, whether it be from St. Mel or other high intensity schools. We got to have more for the kids in the middle of the road that's very intelligent but may need a little less structure. Structure is good, but then too, if you can't handle good structure, it can be bad. When we get talented and highly intelligent young people getting bored in the local educational system, that can be bad too, and they can end up in the street as well as the kids who's in struggling families where addiction, alcoholism, and other things are prevalent. So we have to watch out for those. So today I want to say let's take care of ourselves better, let's take care of our communities better, let's take care of our families better, and let's live better. Let's enjoy life more. I'm in that stage right now. I'm doing this because it's a little simpler to come here and talk to people every week than to be trying to organize community events, do the flyers, do the legwork, get it posted here, posted there, and all of that in order to get people in a space to hear, where this gives the opportunity where people come to CAN TV to seek information, dialogue, discussion. And so it gives us that ability to reach more people every week in the viewing audience. And now, since it's in the social media realm, even people can pick up these discussions wherever they choose to, use them where they choose to, from YouTube and Facebook at any given point after the message. So I want to thank CAN TV for keeping this venue for us, especially in the smaller struggling groups that's trying to build toward middle level nonprofits and possibly even really well-off nonprofits doing servicing thousands of people, but those of us that service 50 to 200-300 a year regularly, personally, as well as possibly reach thousands. But there are some that serve thousands and reach 5,000-10,000 because they had a multi-million-dollar budget. But CAN TV allows the rest of us to be able to come on air and bring messages of hope to the community, life to the community, of reducing violence in different ways, and mental health and promotion in many ways to the rest of the community. So we want to thank CAN TV. We want to thank this great non-profit staff, Miss Rozzy and Miss Amani. They've done a great job over the last year stabilizing this venue for media and enhancing it. And I found some of their suggestions very helpful. And so we look forward to trying to get us a new guest in next week. We want to keep in prayer Judge Murray and his family and the loss of his son Malik, and we want to keep all of his colleagues and other extended family members in prayer. We want to keep our communities in prayer, but we also want to pray for Chris, who used to help do the show in one of the brightest spots in our show last year, who's been dealing with various health challenges. And until they're under control better, she won't be able to come back to the show and share her very bubbly, perky, enthusiastic view. And she has a real passion for the mental health field and knows more about it directly and indirectly than I do, and have studied some things that would be advantageous. And Eric is going through some other situations with work adjustments, and he'll be back periodically. But we're going to get some great other people doing service. And we got some more judges coming. Judge Murray, once he gets through this transition phase and adjustment phase with his family, he's going to come back, as well as help us get some other judges here to help us learn how to navigate the legal system to help our families live better and also avoid certain pitfalls of the legal system, just because we don't know and just because we don't have even some judges giving us good sound advice. Thank you for a wonderful evening. We thank you for all your time. We thank you all for living the mess. And we thank our CAN TV staff for helping keep us perky and on the air, providing info. Peace out.